This is Bethany Gagne, founder of Numinous, the organization that sponsors the Global Peaceful Cities Project. And today it is an amazing pleasure for me to be able to speak with author Gregg Braden. He is his signature style is always combining this idea of ancient wisdom with current peer-reviewed research. And he has an exceptional passion for teaching people the wisdom of living from the heart, as we've been teaching the Global Peaceful Cities Project. So Gregg, welcome. Thank you so much for your time today.
Hey, Bethany, I am absolutely thrilled to be with you. It's the first time you and I have worked together in this capacity. I'm not sure why that is, and I'm looking forward to our next. I want to thank you for the work you're doing. My sense is our time is going to go by very, very quickly. I'm going to follow your lead, and wherever you'd like to go, I am happy to go there with you.
Absolutely. Well, I have about 2 questions I'd love to ask for you. If you could you talk to people about what the amazing benefits are of cultivating the heart-brain connection in everyday life?
Well, let me back up. I'd be happy to do that, and let me describe what that heart-brain connection is. 1991, scientists made a discovery that was surprising even to them so late in the game. We've been experimenting and transplanting hearts, for most of the 20th century, and it was only in 1991 they discovered the existence of 40,000 specialized cells in the human heart that are called sensory neurites. They are essentially brain-like cells, but they're not in the brain, in the cranial brain, and they are concentrated in the heart in such a way they create a neural network that is actually called the little brain in the heart. So we all know that we can think with our head. We all sense that we can feel with our heart. And for many people, there's this sense of exclusivity. We do one or the other. And what the science is showing, and what our most ancient and cherished spiritual traditions tell us, is that where we find our true powers when we harmonize 2 organs into a single potent system, when we harmonize the heart and the brain to create what is technically called heart-brain coherence. When we allow ourselves to move into this space of heart-brain coherence, for a lot of people, they think that is the goal, is to create the coherence, and it may well be, and that's fine. What we also now know is it is a doorway, it is a portal. Once we are in this space, there are so many other things that we can do. For example, we can tap very deep states of intentional intuition. We all have spontaneous intuition. It's hard to have that deep knowing when the conditions are least favorable to creating it, and that's when we need it the most. We can create intuition, deep intuition on demand, resilience to big change in our lives, big changes in the world, and we're all seeing that change. We can all use that resilience right now.
Absolutely.
Just by harmonizing the heart and the brain, we trigger over 1,300 positive biochemical reactions in the body that include everything from an enhanced immune response. We can actually strengthen our immune system on demand. With my travel schedule, anybody that's looked at my website knows that my travel schedule is very extensive, and I've worked with HeartMath almost since their inception, since the year of their inception, and I've used these techniques at least once a day since then, and I couldn't keep the travel schedule I do if I didn't. We also now know that it is a trigger to release powerful longevity enzymes in the human body that were only recently discovered in the 20th century, as well as helping us to achieve brain states that were thought to be possible only to monks and nuns and mystics, the higher gamma brain states that enhance our cognitive abilities, super learning, super cognition, super recall once we do learn something. And I'm just scratching the surface. So I'm giving a sense it's more than the goal, the end of creating a heart-brain coherence. Once we create that coherence, it is the doorway to extraordinary potentials that have been believed to be relegated only to a few people who dedicate their lives to studying these things. And now we know we can do it in our living rooms without studying in a monastery on a mountaintop halfway around the world. And that's where I really acknowledge and honor the Institute of Heart Math, their dedication, their perseverance, the science, the rock solid science. Plus, they're just really, really nice people to work with. Now, I know you know that, Bethany.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But real quick question before I get to the next one. Out of all your books, because you just described that so beautifully, which book would you recommend people, because I know you have so many books.
Sure. I do have a lot of books, and I speak about this from different perspectives in each of those books. The one that would zero in with the actual instructions and case histories is a book that is called Resilience from the Heart. It was released, I believe it was released in 2016 by Hay House Publishing. So Resilience from the Heart, and it is broken into two parts. One is personal resilience, and using these techniques to create that personal resilience in our lives. Personal resilience can become community and social coherence. And I think we're all seeing a need for that as well. And what the studies are showing is that what is good for us inside of our bodies, the benefits extend beyond our bodies, into our families, into our communities. And it's not hocus pocus, science fiction. This is rock solid science. I'm a degreed geologist. I was in the past. I'm not a practicing geologist now. So the earth science really fascinates me. And what we now know is that the heart is the strongest biomagnetic field in the human body, much stronger than the brain. And it literally couples, it couples with the magnetic field of the planet that we live upon. So when we harmonize our heart and our brain, not only are we doing something that's good for us at the moment, but we're actually riding on the power of the planet, of Mother Earth, and the magnetic fields that sustain life on this planet. And I think for me, it's very powerful to have that sense that I'm part of something greater and harmonizing in a natural way, a way that is very, very fundamental, very natural, and very easy. So that's a long answer to a short question.
No, that's a great reference. I'm going to have to get that. My next question then is right along those lines, is what kind of science can you offer people to have them start to engage with the understanding that we are all connected. We feel separate, people feel kind of separate and alone, but that's because this research works, is because we are connected. Can you share with people something that would truly help them wholeheartedly embrace that concept?
I can share, if you're a left brain scientific kind of person, the science, science doesn't have all the answers. And I think science can simply inform us as to the nuts and bolts of how things work, the mechanism, and then it's up to us to find out how we apply that mechanism in our lives. So there was an experiment that was done at the University of Geneva in Switzerland in the early 1990s that for me really sealed the deal on the connectivity. And let me just describe that experiment very briefly. It was viewed by over 4,000 journalists at the time, and very few reported it because they didn't understand what they were seeing. It was in Geneva. And what the scientists did was they took a photon. A photon is the fundamental stuff that an atom is made of. So we're talking about the stuff of our bodies and the stuff of our physical world. They took a fundamental particle called it's a particle of light, actually is what it is. And they wanted to have two particles with identical characteristics. So they took this photon and they broke it in half. So there were two identical photons that came from the same original photon. They were called twin photons. What they did was they put these photons in a specialized device, and they shot one of the photons 7 miles in a fiber optic cable in one direction, 7 miles in the fiber optic cable in the opposite direction. They're now 14 miles apart. This is where the experiment began. What they found was whatever they did to one photon, the other one acted like it was having the same experience, and there was no lag time for the information to get from one to another. They used atomic clocks to time this. It was instantaneous. So if they changed the spin on one photon, the other one immediately showed the same spin. If they forced one photon to take a certain path, the other photon took the same path mirrored on the other side. And they said, well, how can this be instantaneous? How does the information get from one place to another? And the answer is it doesn't, because it's already there. And this is where it gets really interesting. What they found is that once physical matter is connected. Even when the physical matter becomes separated energetically, it remains connected. Those two photons originally were one. Once they were physically separated, energetically, they were still connected as one. Here's why that's important. We go back about 14 billion years ago. Scientists say if you could take all of the matter in the universe, take out all the empty space, and bring it back down to the moment just after the Big Bang, they say that all of the physical matter would be about the size of a single green pea and really hot, about 18 billion degrees Fahrenheit. That's what they tell me. I said, how do you guys know that? And they said, well, it was hot. Okay, it was really hot, and we know that. So here's the thing. That means that in that moment, if physical matter, when it originates as a single particle, and then that matter becomes separated physically, it's still connected energetically. The entire universe, if we were to go back in time and bring the expansion back to the point where it began, was the size of a single green pea. Everything was connected. Even though the atoms are expanding and there's a lot of empty space, energetically, we're still connected. So that, to me, it makes perfect sense that we would have this energetic connection, and there's a field of energy that is now acknowledged. I was just at the CERN superconducting super collider in Geneva, Switzerland a few months ago, where scientists have actually now confirmed the field that underlies this physical reality. You would think it would be in, headlines on, all the news channels, and it makes it into very technical and very specific kinds of publications. You don't see it in the general public. So what we know is there's a field of energy that connects all things. All physical matter was once connected, even though it is separate now. Physically, energetically, it's still connected, just like those two photons. Right. And when I began to understand that, I said, it makes perfect sense that we would be so connected, and it makes perfect sense that we would have access to that connection. And that's where the heart and the brain come in. Two separate organs, and both of them are important. But what we as humans have the ability to do that no other form of life can do on demand, consciously, by choice, the way that we do, as far as we know, is we can sit down a moment in time and we can harmonize two separate organs into a single potent system that gives us access not only to our own energetic system, but to the energetic system that extends beyond our bodies and connects the world around us. For me, this is where our mastery comes in. It's the essence of our most ancient and cherished spiritual tradition, not the religions, but the spirituality that precedes the religions. This is the essence of what they always said to us, is that we are part of rather than separate from the world. And as we embrace that we are part of rather than separate from, and we begin to accept our place, our role of mastery in that field, it makes perfect sense to me that we would have the opportunity to influence, not control, not manipulate, right. Influence what happens to the energy in our bodies. And we see this through what are called miraculous or spontaneous healings, but also influence the world beyond our bodies. And the Heart Math is showing us this through a project they have called the Global Coherence Initiative, which is where they're training people to create coherence in their bodies, knowing that that coherence is reflected, it's fed into the field. And the results are showing up, as you are part of, Bethany, you're doing this, in large population centers. What they find is crime rates are reduced, emergency hospital room visits reduced, violent crimes against people are reduced while we are creating this coherent feeling. And the problem is when people stop, often those statistics reverse. And this leads us to the very heart of our most cherished traditions, is that this harmony isn't something that we do in a moment in time. It's something we become in our lives. To the best of our abilities, we live this heart-brain harmony in our bodies, and it's reflected in the world around us. So I just want to follow with that thought, and now wherever you'd like to go.
Amazing the way you brought all that together, and you just closed it up so beautifully. Thank you so much. That's our mission here at the Peace Project, is to teach people how to embody the heart-brain connection so that we can start solving problems from the heart. And thank you so much. Your work is an amazing contribution to that. And what's your website again?
My website is www.greggbraden, it's Gregg, 2 G's, and you can go there. You can see all the events that we're doing. All the books are out there. They're also on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, wherever books are sold. So Bethany, thank you for having me today. Thank you for the work that you're doing in the world. I want to thank all of our viewers for just taking the moment out of your time to click on that link that connected me to you and Bethany today. Thank you all so much.
Thank you very much, Greg. Have a great day.
You as well. Take care.
Thanks.